I've been getting emails from the Asia CEO Forum, and I have to be honest with you, it's one of those emails that you actually want to read compared to the other spam stuff that you get on your inbox. So I thank Richard for inviting me over, and I'd also like to thank Mike. Mike, thanks for doing a lot of the job for me today, so I won't have to talk about a lot of the projects that we're really proud of and really excited about. And Evan, my good friend Evan and Marty, all of the CEOs who are here and all of the officers of corporations, not just in Central Luzon and Clark, but I think all the way from the north. I think a couple of people from the north here as well. Yeah, from Pangasinan, Ilocos, La Union, and also from Metro Manila, I heard. So thank you so much for having me. I told Richard earlier that I would try my best not to talk too much this afternoon, because I think you've got a lot of questions probably, and we want to make this more interactive, an interactive dialogue. So, but I did want to say that this forum that you've had, I think that you've been doing for the last decade already, is so important for the kind of business and investment environment we want to have in this country. It's so important to have key people in industry, in business, sitting in one room together and really talking about how we can work together, how you can work together with government to really propel the economy and the country forward. We've had now, I think, 6 years of sustained growth of above 5%. 5 to 6 years of above 5% growth. And I think we're just looking at the beginning of this enormous growth potential for the country. We saw this beginning 2011, 2012 when the country started growing. And I think with the will and the leadership of President Duterte, this can only get better from here on. And Mike talked about our Build, Build, Build program, which really is the economic cornerstone of the president's agenda. Obviously, he's known a lot for his war on crime, on drugs, now our war on terrorism in Mindanao. But what is less talked about, but what is equally important, is the president's economic agenda, which is really centered on his priority for building world-class infrastructure for the country. And I think I was interviewed by CNBC yesterday, and Martin Song, their anchor, said that, infrastructure is really the secret sauce of sustained growth. And this is something that we as a country really have to focus on now. In fact, we should have done this yesterday. We should have done this years ago. But we don't want to look at the past. We want to look towards the future. We want to look at the present and what we can do for the future. So I feel embarrassed presenting this again to Mike, Evan, and Marty, because they've heard this probably a million times already. But I always begin this presentation with a quote which I really like. Now, it's an Arab proverb which says that dogs bark, but the caravan moves on. And this is really a challenge for governments, especially in a democracy like the Philippines, where a lot of people talk a lot of people have their own opinions. A lot of people feel and think that they know more than anyone else. That's fine, but it's a free country, as they say, as the Americans like to say all the time. But it is the job of government to do two things, in my opinion, and in the president's opinion. It is to decide and to act. And I just like to put an colatilia to that. It's to decide and act quickly and swiftly. Because, we've had our share of difficulties in this country. For those of you who have done business here for quite a while, you know that our governments of the past have haven't had a great record at deciding and acting quickly. But that, I think, is the strength of this administration and of our president. He's known as a doer, and he's known as a person who has the will to get things done. That's why during the campaign, the president always just kept on saying simple things. And one of the simple things that he kept on saying was this. He said, just do it. To paraphrase and borrow from Nike, just do it. And that's really his mindset. 2 weeks ago, we presented for approval of the NEDA board, the Clark International Airport expansion. And usually that's a very high caliber board. You've got all the cabinet secretaries there. The president's the chairman. The NEDA secretary is the vice chairman. And you've got a lot of bureaucrats and a lot of technocrats in that meeting, obviously with the end goal of really ripping your proposal apart and really asking the most difficult questions. But you know how long it took us to present and get approval for Clark International Airport? Guess. 10 minutes. 10 minutes from presentation to maybe 3 or 4 questions. And the president had the last word, of course. And you know what he said? He said, Vince, just do it. Just do it. Just do it for the people. Just do it for the country. Just do it for the millions of people going through hell in Naiya every year. Mike showed the map of Naiya. Naiya has a capacity of 30 million passengers per year. And I think the latest statistics for this year is we're going to hit about 40 million throughput in Naiya this year. So that's 10 million operations above capacity. Can you imagine? And we all go through Naiya. We all go through the long immigration lines, the long security checks. We all go through the traffic going in and out of Naiya. I flew in from Hong Kong last Friday. It took me literally, I had a meeting in the fort. It took me 1 hour and 40 minutes to get from Naiya 3 to the fort. 1 hour and 40 minutes. Can you imagine? That's what? That's 5 kilometers probably, or less. So the president said, Vince, just do it. And that's really his mindset. And I think this is something that we should all be thankful for, that we have a president who has the will to just get things done and to decide and act swiftly. And this is what Build, Build, Build is really all about. When we launched this in late last year and early this year, the idea was really to look at what is the missing ingredient of our country's development. And everybody was unanimous in saying it's infrastructure. It's interconnectivity infrastructure. It's airports. It's railway, mass transport. It's roads, highways leading from north to south. And if we're able to build this, we're not going to be, and I have to say this to all of you, we're not going to be able to finish all of these projects in 5 years. But as I was telling Richard a while ago, it's all, and as you know very well as people in business, it's all about momentum. The key is momentum. If we can begin the momentum now and extend the momentum all the way up to 2022, I think it's really going to be very difficult to stop the infrastructure momentum that this government is trying to build all the way up to the end of the president's term in 2022. And what I want to talk to you about now is what we're going to be building here, not just in Clark, but in this region of the country. And it's really very, very exciting. So just to give an idea, past 50 years, 2.5% of GDP was spent on infrastructure. And this is, people ask, why do we have traffic in Metro Manila? Why do we have all these problems with interconnected? Why are airports congested? Why are ports congested? Well, that's the answer. Because we have not spent enough on infrastructure in the last 50 years. 2.5%. China spends upwards of 9-10%. That's what China spent over the course of the last 3-4 decades. Singapore, they started spending, even now, you go to Singapore, you go to Hong Kong, construction never stops. Every year there's a new terminal, there's a new MRT station, there's a new road, there's a new skyway. Singapore, Changi is building Terminal 5 right now. They just finished Terminal 4. They're just about to finish Terminal 4, sorry. And Terminal 5 is bigger than Terminal 1, 2, 3 combined. That's how they build in these countries. And that's how it should be. And that's the success. That's the secret sauce. That's the secret to the success of all these high-income economies. It's infrastructure. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to catch up. We have to catch up. And that's why in 2017 alone, we're budgeting about close to a trillion pesos, 800 billion pesos for infrastructure alone, which ramps up our percentage to GDP on infrastructure spending from 2.6% to 5.4%. And this is just gonna go up. This is gonna go higher. The end goal is by 2022, our infrastructure spending to GDP would be about 7.5% to 8%, which is roughly the benchmark that countries like China, India, and all these high-performing economies are spending right now. And where are we going to spend them? For BCDA at least, and for some projects of DOTR and DPWH, we're going to be spending them here. And you can see it's really from so the solid lines are the highways, the expressways, the dotted lines are the railways. If you were a betting person, if you were in business and investment, investing in this area of Clark is really a no-brainer. And I have to commend the group over at GGDC. They saw this years ago. They saw this way back in 2008, right? 2008, 2007, right? When you first started negotiating the lease for the 177 hectare GGLC. Sorry. They saw this because it's a no-brainer. You've got an area 80 kilometers from the capital, connected by high-speed highway, expressway, NLEX, and then at that time, and SETEX was just going to be inaugurated in 2008. You've got an airport that is 4 times the size of the Manila International Airport of Ninoy Aquino. 4 times. Ninoy Aquino is 600 hectares. The Clark Airport complex is 2,400 hectares. It's bigger. It's even bigger than Chep Lak Kok in Hong Kong right now. Of course, they're expanding now. They're building the 3rd runway. But it's even bigger than that. Then you've got a seaport. A high-capacity seaport just 70, 60 kilometers away from the airport. You know, the Americans, and this is a tribute to you guys, these are smart guys. And you see how smart they are when the US military chose Clark as its biggest air base outside of the continental United States and chose Subic as its biggest naval base outside of the continental United States. They must have seen something in Clark and in Subic and in this entire region for them to put their most important, their most vital military assets in this area. So business-wise, it's really a no-brainer. And for government, it's really a double no-brainer for us to invest more infrastructure here. That's why when the Pinoy administration, and credit goes to them, when they thought about building a new city and chose the Clark subzone, fantastic and brilliant decision. Fantastic idea. Because you've got a city 15 kilometers away from the airport, and you've got a city, an industrial complex 60 kilometers away from probably one of the best seaports in the country. So what we're going to be doing is we're really going to be going all in. BCDA is really going all in on this region. You know, the Ayalas talked to me the other day and they said, Vince, it seems like you're forgetting Bonifacio and you're all focused on Clark. It's true. You know, we are. But we're not forgetting Fort Bonifacio, but Fort Bonifacio is already there. The last sale in Fort Bonifacio, guess what the last sale was? Per square meter. 1 million pesos per square meter in BGC. So really, that's going to take care of itself. The economics of that is done. I mean, there's no other property in the country you can sell for 1 million pesos per square meter. So it's not that we're forgetting Bonifacio, Fort Bonifacio, but okay na yun eh. It's gonna grow by itself. The Ayalas just bought FTI. They bought it for 30,000 pesos per square meter. Now they're selling for 350,000 per square meter in FTI in Arca South. So government they don't need government support. They don't need government help there anymore. But we need it in Clark. We need Clark to boom just like Bonifacio, Global City, FTI, and the other developments, and Metro Manila have boomed. So what's in store for this area? And I'm not just talking about Central Luzon. I'm talking about all the way to Northern Luzon, where BCDA also has properties in Poro Point and in Camp John Hay. Well, why Central Luzon? No-brainer. Already the third largest labor force in the country, already the third largest GDP share in the country, third largest region, etc. No, really, this is the next area for growth in the next few years, or maybe already now. So, DOTR will be beginning the Manila-Clark Railway from Tutuban to Clark. They will ground break construction Q1 2018. Next year, Q1 of 2018. That's going to happen already. The North Rail project has been, and this is, again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. This was planned way back in the 90s, 20 years ago. No, during the Ramos administration. It wasn't even the Chinese yet at that time. It was, I think, a consortium between a Spanish firm and a Filipino group. No, and then there was also a plan by the Japanese at that time, and then another plan by the Chinese. But nothing happened. Nothing. All plans, no clear decision and no swift action done in the last 20 years. But in this administration, we're going to ground break this, and we're going to complete this by at least the one until Clark, but we're going to extend it all the way to the new city in Clark, in New Clark City. The one until Clark will finish by 2021. The Japanese have already committed to this. They were just here last Friday, and this is already full steam ahead, all systems go for Manila to Clark Rail. And the express rail is a guaranteed less than 1 hour trip from Manila to Clark. However, this is going to be extended from Tutuban all the way to Naiya. That is the plan. Now, all this is going to be a seamless connection from Tutuban all the way to Naiya, and from Naiya all the way to Calamba in Laguna. So it's really going to be a south to north connection. And from the north, from New Clark City, it's going to be extended all the way to La Union, resurrecting the former Damortis to Legazpi to Bicol PNR rail. You know, we've had a railway actually since the 1800s. 1800s pa to. No, but for some reason, you know, we forgot about it. It got dilapidated. The North Rail was completely stopped, and now we just have the South Rail from Manila all the way to Bicol, but you know how dilapidated that is. So we're going to resurrect that whole thing. We're not going to finish that in 5 years. All we want to do is finish Manila to Clark by 2021. and then extend that all the way to New Clark City and then all the way to La Union. And then at the same time build the South Rail from Metro Manila all the way to Bicol. Subic-Clark Railway, Mike talked about this a little bit, but this is so important. And this is actually what they envisioned. Remember, GGDC envisioned their property to be a major logistics hub, not just in the Philippines, but for the region. That's why they betted their money, they put their money in GGLC, because they knew and they saw the potential of the connectivity between Subic and Clark. And we're going to take this to another level by building a cargo railway, initially a cargo railway between Subic and Clark, going through the airport and into going all the way to Metro Manila and going up north. And of course, this is really going to be the driver of this entire region, from central all the way up to northern Luzon, the Clark Airport. You know, they planned this right after the United States left in the early 90s. They were already planning Clark Airport. They weren't even starting construction on HKIA, on Hong Kong International Airport. They were already planning Clark Airport. So this is long overdue, and the president, and as the president told us, just do it. And I'm here to announce to you, and I promised Richard that I would make an important announcement today in this forum. We will be opening the international tender for Clark International Airport expansion Phase 1 on July 21, next Friday. So you're going to see a international publication formally opening the tender for the international for the Clark International Airport expansion Phase 1, the terminal building, July 21. Mark that date. You'll see it in one or two of the papers here in the Philippines, and we're also publishing in the Asian Wall Street Journal and the International Herald Tribune, because we want to obviously attract not just local companies to join the tender, but also international and regional companies to join the tender. So if any of you are represent big EPC contractors, please join the tender for the join us in building Asia's next premier gateway in Clark. So Mike showed this to you. I won't belabor this. This is part of the Aéroport de Paris master plan. That blue rectangle in the middle, that's going to be the site of the new terminal in Clark, and we're going to be putting it closer to the main runway, so it's less time taxiing for those that have for the airlines that land. And the good thing about this is a lot of you come to Clark all the time, and maybe a lot of you fly out of Clark. We're going to be building a interchange. Sorry, the pointer's not working, but on the upper right side, that's the Clark North exit interchange to SETEX. We're going to be building a straight shot connection from Clark North all the way to the new terminal. So because right now you still have to go into the main zone to get into the terminal, right? And sometimes it's a hassle, it takes some of your time. Now there's going to be a straight connection from SETEX all the way to the new terminal. That will be part of the expansion program for the new terminal in Clark. So again, mark your dates. July 21, we'll be publishing the new terminal expansion for Clark. So, well, this is just how it's going to expand. The railway is going to go into the airport. So the termination of the railway will be at the terminal. Similar, the design, you see that red loop in the middle of the terminals. So that's going to be where the railway is going to terminate. So it's very similar in design to Hong Kong, where you've got Terminal 1 and Terminal 2 on opposite ends, and you've got the Airport Express commuter rail right in the middle. So it's very similar, very convenient design, and we're going to be building that as well in the next couple of years. Okay, so our biggest project is Clark Green City. Now we've rebranded to New Clark City. And really, it's a 9,450 hectare property, 15 kilometers from the airport. And I'll just breeze through this quickly. Just the components of this. Before the components, I just wanted to update you on what we're doing now. Right now, our focus is to build connectivity. Because, as they say, you build a road, development follows, right? So that's what we're building now. We're building the roads. We're building 2 main access roads to the new Clark City. The main one is a 17-kilometer road which connects it directly to Clark North on SCTEX all the way to the airport. No? So that's the first road we're building. And the road design is really beautiful. No, that's the road design. It's almost as wide as EDSA. No, just to give you perspective. No? And it's going to have a 2x2 carriageway, 4-lane carriageway. It's going to have a bicycle lane for those who, wanna, because it's beautiful greenery space, no, all the way there. If you've been to the Sacobia area, it crosses the Sacobia landscape all the way to Bamban and Capas in Tarlac. Really beautiful mountains and beautiful greenery and beautiful green space. And then, but the key here is the mass transit provision of the road. So we're immediately providing a 2-lane mass transit, either BRT or light rail rail connectivity all the way to Clark City. What we do here, the vision for this is when the Manila to Clark, the North Rail alignment actually passes through New Clark City all the way to La Union. So the railway will pass through all the way from Manila to Clark, to New Clark City, to Tarlac, all the way to La Union. So this not only provides easy connectivity from Manila, but it more importantly provides connectivity from the north. And it again opens up the development possibilities, not just for Central Luzon, but for Northern Luzon. So for a BPO like Task Us, you can now tap into the market, not just in Central Luzon and Metro Manila, but your market can extend and stretch all the way to Northern Luzon, to Pangasinan, to La Union, to Ilocos Sur, to Ilocos Norte. And just to show you, I'll show you a video. This was taken December of last year of the kind of road that we're building. And just to show you, I'll just show you a quick drone video. So that's the road, and that's the kind of terrain that's being built. This was in December, I think. No, and just to show you, it's really it's not a joke. No, it's a very challenging terrain that we're trying to build the road on. So those are the Sacobia Mountains there, and I think by now this should be paved already. No, so I'll try to get a new drone shot. But this is the road that's being built all the way from the site of New Clark City all the way to the airport. So, and the national government has just poured in 12 billion pesos for this road. Also, the other road is the one connecting it to MacArthur Highway and SCTEX. So, these are the components of the New Clark City. The most important one is the government center. The president has made another bold decision. And that bold decision is to begin the process of moving government offices from Metro Manila to Clark. And that's going to happen pretty soon. In fact, the Department of Transportation is moving end of this month. Not to New Clark City, obviously, but to Cyber City here in the Clark Freeport Zone. They will be moving already end of this month. Initially, I think about 200 workers in DOTR will be moving to Clark this month. Of course, there will be an integrated transport system. AECOM of Singapore is designing this with us together with the Japanese. There will be we just signed, I don't know if you saw it in the papers, we just signed an agreement with the French firm Semaris, which operates the biggest wholesale food terminal in Europe. It's located outside of Paris. We just signed a memorandum of agreement with them and Metro Pacific Corporation with Mr. Manny Pangilinan to do the feasibility study of establishing a wholesale food terminal in Clark. Again, falling into the mold of really developing this area as a major logistics area. So we will be putting up a international food terminal here in the new Clark City with the French and with Metro Pacific. There will be an agro-industrial park. This will be done initially by Philinvest and then by other Japanese locators. Of course, Philinvest will be leading the way to build a mixed-use complex in the new city. Again, what we're trying to do, and I think one innovation we're trying to do in BCDA now, is we're trying to master plan all our properties, Clark, Poro Point, John Hay, New Clark City, Subic, and master plan them in such a way that they complement each other and they do not compete with each other. That's why Mike put it very clearly. All these properties are not meant to compete with each other. They are meant to complement each other in an integrated way. So that's what we're trying to do in all these master plans that we're doing right now. There's going to be an integrated care development. This is spearheaded by the Japanese. Again, this is by no means meant to compete with Medical City here in Clark. If I'm not mistaken, they're already almost operating at full capacity right now in Medical City. So remember, you've got an area here just in Central Luzon of about close to 7 million people just in Central Luzon, not counting Northern Luzon, not counting Northern Metro Manila. So there will be a tremendous demand for healthcare facilities and world-class healthcare. And the Japanese are helping us. And this will also be, the Japanese are building this because they also want a medical tourism hub that their citizens can go to. You know that Japan has an aging population, and healthcare in Japan is very, very expensive. And plus they have winters there, and they want to start bringing in Japanese citizens who need world-class healthcare, but who want a cheaper and a more friendly environment, especially in terms of weather environment. And the other thing we're working on right now is the sports city in New Clark. We really want to build, and the President wants to leave a legacy for our athletes. We really want to build a world-class sports facility, and the best place to do it is in Clark. No, and we really want to make this happen. Hopefully we can close an agreement with the Philippine Sports Commission very soon. So, with your help, and I think the role of the business sector, of the private sector, is critical to making all of this a success. Government can't build all of those things that I showed you. Government can't build, the kinds of buildings that GGDC has built. We don't have the expertise for that, and we don't have the track record of doing that. So we're going to need the help of the private sector. Government's job is really to provide you, the private sector, with first a environment that is friendly to business, that does not increase the cost of doing business, in fact, that lowers the cost of doing business. And second of all, is to provide you with the infrastructure that you need to operate and to operate efficiently. Will do in the next couple of years. So if we work together on this, all of these things, we can start seeing all of these mega projects, mega infrastructure projects happening in the next 3 to 5 years. So with that, I'd like to end and thank again Richard and the officers of the Asia CEO Forum. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to our exchange in a few minutes. Thank you.